See you on this evening.
See you later.
I see you, Paul. Thanks very much. BBC Radio Leeds, 28 minutes past 5. Now, the price of Tesco shares has fallen by 10% after the company issued its fifth profits warning in the past year. One stage, in fact, shares down by more than 16%. The supermarket said profits would be no higher than £1.4 billion rather than the £2 billion the city had been expected. West Yorkshire-based retail analyst Kate Hardcastle has been looking at this one today and has been talking to me about the slightly tougher times for Tesco and why we are probably driving them.
Well, there's not just the recent accounting scandal that we need to take into account here. We also need to think about the way we shop today. We shop in very, very different ways. We have more power at our fingertips with our smartphones, and we've got more discounters out there like Aldi and Lidl who are providing very, very good quality offers for the money that we're paying. We also prefer to shop more little and often now, which is helping with our budgets, but also making sure that we don't waste an hour of our time, which is very precious, in a supermarket where we might pick up things we don't even want and have deals forced upon us, in some kind of Tesco marketing psychology way. So there's a lot going on here. Basically, Tesco are struggling. They're going to have to deal with all those instant issues such as their accounting and their supplier relationships. Then they're going to have to tackle a big one, which is who are we and what do we stand for? Now, they're still a big operator in our marketplace.
And they're still making a lot of money, aren't they?
Of course, they are still a big employer in our marketplace. So we mustn't think that we can just go out there and just constantly beat Tesco. That is the living wage of a lot of people. But at the same time, realistically, they need to work out who are we, what do we stand for, and what is our offer to a very changing and dynamic customer going to be. And the thing I'm concerned about, Andrew, is the longer it takes for them to decide that, the more that the consumer will go and shop elsewhere. And once you've formed that habit, it's very difficult to win back.
Is part of their problem that for so long they were so big, so dominant and seemingly could do no wrong? That, in other words, it's a bit like one of those oil tankers. It's now proving very hard to turn.
You can be big and dominant and successful. There's no hardship in that. But what you have to be if you're in that position is constantly looking forwards. And I think they'd look sideways. So they'd looked at expansion worldwide. You may have heard of that, which wasn't very successful in a lot of territories. They'd started to look into things such as funeral provision, hair care provision. Well, those are great pots to try and empty. But, the word greed is used a lot. And it isn't greed. It's just trying to be very entrepreneurial. But really what you needed to be looking at is how's the consumer going to shop in 10 years, because it's going to be more different than any of us can even anticipate or predict. So in my day-to-day job, which is helping the analysis and the understanding of what customers are doing, Tesco need to come out with a very clear offer and say this is who we're going to be, this is what we're going to stand for, and these are the short-term measures we're making to try and attract you and keep you on board whilst we turn that very large juggernaut round.
Final point, what would be top of the list? If you were brought in and say, Kate, we need to really just do something now, what would be number one?
Say sorry to the customers and try and get them back by offering them a lot of value and saying we appreciate how hard times are right now.
West Yorkshire Travel.
BBC Radio Leeds.
West Yorkshire based